So this is Komalachari. I'm a local real estate agent in Florida area. So this video, I'm going to break down all kind of facts about Florida. I live in South Florida, but I serve in whole Florida region, and that's why we try to go more deeper into the comparison of every area, because the Florida has a lot of varieties. If you're moving here for the lifestyle, or if you're moving here for the work, or if you're moving here for retirement, all kinds of different goals can be achieved in Florida. And that's why the Florida has been very famous among the relocation. Not just in COVID time, but before also. But this during the COVID pandemic situations, having the virtual work and having the flexibility for the job, a lot of people got triggered with the thought process of moving to more affordable states, or moving to states where, you can have a little different lifestyle and do a lot of stuff, a lot of fun. So that's why the Florida has been one of the famous states for the relocation. So let me tell you first how Florida is divided. If you check on this map, you will understand Florida has the North Florida, Central Florida, and South Florida. And at the same time, it has the east side and the west side. So let me break down first with the lifestyle. What you will get the difference in those areas. Plus the weather, because lifestyle and weather is kind of interrelated. And I'm sure you must be moving for the lifestyle. Is that right? So let me start with, if you're looking for warm weather, complete warm weather, 365 days, almost 300 days, you have a full sun and no winter, not at all winter, then South Florida is for you, because South Florida has humidity, but at the same time very warm weather. So that's what I told on another point, where the disadvantage in South Florida is the humidity, the extra humidity you will find in South Florida because of the beach. If you want to look for, let's say, more about a little bit of forest feel, and you don't care about the beach and you're okay with having the midwinter season, then definitely the Central Florida is for you, because Central Florida kind of give a feel of part of South Florida and part of North Florida. The weather gets different. Winter, there is a winter there, and I have a lot of friends living in Tampa, Orlando. I see them all the time in the winter, the hoodies and the sweaters and all. In South Florida, I never had to take out any of my sweaters. So that's the biggest difference of the weather. Another thing about the lifestyle in Central Florida is there are no beach. There are not at all beach. There are beaches, but it's a little bit further, on the corner. So for example, you're living in Tampa, then you may have a bigger rivers or bigger lakes, but at the same time, you do not have beach accesses. Very easy. There are a Clearwater Beach or St. Petersburg, and there are a couple of are there. I'm not saying it's not, but comparatively, the convenient wise is a little difficult. But if you are looking for, let's say, for kids having the fun in Disneyland and having the busch gardens, a lot of water park, a lot of activities for the kids, then Tampa, Orlando is for you. That's the Central Florida. And if you go to North Florida, then good luck. It is not Florida technically. It is actually the shadow of Georgia and Alabama. It's crazy weather there. This winter, no doubt. Of course, it doesn't snow, but you do feel it winter. It's dry weather and less humidity. So North Florida weather is kind of way different weather than Central Florida or South Florida. So, it is in part of Florida, right? But the other states' weather does influence in North Florida. But there are a couple of other pros that I'm going to mention during the video. So make sure you stay till the end. By the way, before we go to the next point, tell me about your opinion. Which kind of weather you would love having in Florida, and what would be your thought process to do you like more hot, more balanced, more, of course, Florida in general is hot, but the cold, a little bit of cold, you like it or not? Let me know in this comment. I would love to hear from you guys. Now let's talk about the east and west side. So east and west, what I mean is the one side of the beach towns are Naples, Marco Island, Sanibel Island. So there are all kind of tourist places you will find. And there's the other side, which is Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Deerfield Beach, Delray Beach. It's a whole border of South Florida. And of course, the most southern point you go, there's a Key West, and a lot of keys in the down from Miami. So this is all three has almost similar lifestyle, but biggest differences are the crowd. If you go on Naples, Marco Island, that border, it will be more quieter. And if you come to Fort Lauderdale, Miami, it has a little bit of city feels, and you do have some towns here where you get more of countryside feel. So if you don't want to be lost, in a countryside feel and more like a quieter kind of personality you don't have, then, and it's more like a balance, I feel, honestly, on Southeast where we live. You have a suburb feel and you have a city feel, all to mix together. And there are a lot of beach towns. For example, if you don't like a crowd, right, then don't go in Miami. If you don't like to have it in high rise, then don't go in Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood. But if you want to live on East Side and still want to have like little quieter lifestyle, then Port St. Lucie, Jupiter, there are a lot of other cities out there which is kind of under process to grow, and they're great cities to invest at this moment because the prices are not too high. And that makes me think about the next point. Okay, before I go there, let me finish with the Naples Marco Island feel. I do a lot of vacations there. Honestly, one of my favorite vacation spot is Naples, and definitely keep it in a list. Again, if you want to retire and you want to have a quieter environment, definitely that area would serve you a lot of different options. If you're looking for more options to look at it, comment us below or contact us. We have a great team working on that area too. That's one of the famous in this time too, because a lot of people love to live in a quieter side. You know, it's not, they don't like more city feel, and the prices, you know, we'll talk next, but it's not too much difference. However, the lifestyle, that's a lot of difference because it's purely less high rise, I would say, and it's more like, you know, quieter feel. Now let's talk about the most important thing is the prices, right? The real estate part is really important to compare when you are moving, either rental or buy. You do need some home, right, to live. So let's start. If you start with Central Florida, which is Tampa, Orlando area, if you see in a map what I mean by Central Florida prices are not too expensive. You do find a lot of new constructions there too, and the prices, you know, the appreciation also is not that high compared to South Florida, and the prices are also not that high. So if you're looking for, let's say, something newer side feel, less than 500,000, you still get the good houses there. So in Central Florida, one thing I'll tell you is like, you know, the driving wise, the commute wise is a little bit challenging sometimes, because in general in Florida, I think that's the issue. There's not much public transportation. So wherever you live, wherever you choose to live, then definitely, you know, you need a car, any part of the Florida. Except let's say you're living in Naples and you're not looking to travel a lot. The things are very close by there, the shopping areas, but the job wise, that's a little bit challenging there because there are not too many big tech companies in that side. If you compare the South Florida versus Central Florida, the South Florida prices are a little bit higher per square foot prices than Central Florida. The reason is it's more famous cities are in South Florida too. I know, of course, Orlando is great famous, and especially for Disneyland, right? So it's a great city to invest for the investors who wants to do some investment properties and want to start somewhere. In South Florida also, the investment properties are so much amazing. You have a great options to do the Airbnb. You have a great options to do the long-term rentals, short-term rentals. I have explained a couple of my videos about the investment because I myself, being an investor, it's so important to choose the location. In South Florida, you do have a lot of tech companies in Miami, a lot of IT companies coming here. So that is why the South Florida prices, no matter what, it's been before COVID also was higher, and even right now also is higher. The real estate market is, oh my God, it's way awesome. So let's say you buy something here, the appreciation wise, the prices goes really high, even though you get a little bit older property, because in general South Florida doesn't have too much new construction, and if there are new construction, then the prices are a little bit above when you compare with the Central Florida. So in general, if you're looking for lifestyle, want to live near to beach, and still this prices on South Florida is not like way expensive. Let's say you compare to California price or New York price, you feel like, oh my God, I'm getting so much living close to beach, having the great weather here, and at the same time the prices are not too high. I'll show you a couple of examples. Let's say if you buy a $600,000 condo in South Florida, how does it look like? And you buy a $600,000 condo or something in a Central Florida close to Independence Drive, which is close to the Disneyland or something. That's how it looks like. So that's like a real comparison of the prices. Of course, it's a location. You do find find there's some different cities here in South Florida where the prices will be like in affordable range too. For example, if you buy in Port St. Lucie, I have my own listing which is below $500,000, which is a great pricing, and you can rent that house easily for $4,000 to $4,500. So there are a lot of great opportunities on investment, and if you're buying for yourself also, there are very good developed areas you would find in South Florida. Same thing in the Central Florida, there are a lot of cities are getting developed, like a lot of lands has been purchased with the big builders and a lot of developments are happening. So if you are looking to buy something like in that setup, you have a very good choices there. So anyways, if you need any help or you want to discuss more about, because this topic is a very vast topic, I cannot just simply say in this 10-minute video every single thing about the housing market. If you go in a North Florida, the main advantage is again pricing. Like Jacksonville, if you go, you can buy way cheaper than South Florida, Central Florida there. So a lot of investors doing the long distance investing, they do prefer to go there. But again, their traffic is less, right? So not a lot of people are looking to live there unless they have a work or there are some kind of priorities to live. In this areas with South Florida or Central Florida, there are some other reasons than work people choose to live. Like let's say in virtual setup, a lot of people choose to live in South Florida just because of the weather, because of the beach being so close. Like any part of the South Florida you live, the beach will be 15 to 20 minutes. You don't have to even live on beach towns to experience the real lifestyle. On Naples, Marco Island, that side of the border, prices are not cheaper, almost competitive to the South Florida, but as I said, there are less of the high-rise, and it's more like a little bit of country feel you get, and the things get slowed down, especially it's a lot of senior citizen crowd there. So if you want to get a feel of city plus the countryside, then the part of Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, that's a pretty good choice to live in. And there are very good west side cities where if you live in, let's say in West Palm Beach, you can get a big acre lots and it gives a great feel to live. A lot of people keep their horses here. They have a beach, horses, ranch style, lifestyle. So a many different things you can play around to do. And if you want to, let's say, have a more countryside feel, right, then the Key Largos, like there are a lot of keys out there in the south. It has amazing feel, but those are like a tourist towns. So you do have to make sure that work-wise what you're going to play around. The houses there is a little bit different than here. A lot of houses there, just the wood-based houses there. The hurricane, a little bit becomes a problem in the Keys because it's southernmost. A lot of, the hurricane gets generated in the oceans and moves top, right? So a lot of times there are more probability of getting hurricanes in the Keys. East and west, south side, it's kind of same probability. In Central Florida, a little bit less, but a lot of times what happens is it starts from south and it shifts to the Central Florida, and the Central Florida gets affected. So again, hurricane, there is nothing you can predict. The good part is there is always the warnings ahead of the time, and you would know the graph, and the houses in Florida in general made of such a way that it protects you from the hurricane. In North Florida and the Central Florida, I've heard there are not hurricane-proof windows, and those shutters or those things are much used. So if the hurricane comes there, then it's really hard for the people are not so used to facing it. But South Florida houses do have those things as set up. You do get a discounts if you have a hurricane-proof windows or doors and the shutters, panels. There are a lot of things you can play around to get the best discount even with the insurance companies. So those are like a major differences. And one thing last I'll throw in this video is the school system. So school system in Florida, you do have to select the cities like where you want to go. So make sure you do that homework before the time, because not every city has amazing schools. The Florida has a lot of private schools like everywhere you go, but universities are amazing too, like in Central, South Florida, everywhere it's education-wise pretty same. But the schools, of course, you need to do your own homework, like where you would like to go in a public schools, and the cities based on that decide, then compare the prices and then decide like, okay, where you want to go. Again, it's a very big differences of living in, like most of the people prefer in Central Florida and South Florida. So, but it's a very big difference, I feel. Like I have a lot of friends there and their lifestyle is a little bit different than our lifestyle. There are a lot of things, I'm not saying there's right or wrong, but definitely you got to figure out which things you like it. What's your priority, and based on that decide which area is great. So by the way, if you need more information, comment me below, and if you want to discuss on a Zoom call, I provide the free consultation, and we serve whole Florida. If you want to buy anywhere in Florida or you want to invest in anywhere in Florida, we try to help whole Florida. So I will talk to you in my next video.